Hello and welcome to the classroom in my living room. And so I'd like to begin talking about chapter 3 and 4 with a quote from Martin Luther King. It goes like this. Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is a very powerful quote. It essentially means that we all have a choice to make when we're faced with hardship, that we can be altruistic. Altruistic means loving, kind, having generosity of spirit, being helpful, being optimistic. Or we can be in the dark and be selfish, and be pessimistic and negative and not have hope. And that this is basically a choice that we make. And this is particularly important for chapters 3 and 4. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at chapter 3. This is Henry Skolnick, my kitty, who is very curious about all this work that I'm doing on the computer. So I want to go to the bottom of page 4 and 5. Henry, get down. Sorry about that. So in this scene, Yuri brings Stop Thief to the stable to meet the other orphans, the other smugglers. What is really curious about this is that all of these kids are really in the same situation. They all share the same plight. They've all been taken from their homes. They've all lost families. We don't know if they are Jews. We don't know if they are Polish Christians. We don't know anything about them except that they're orphaned and they're living in a stable. And yet they're very unwelcoming to Stop Thief. They're unkind. They're kind of acting like bullies, actually. And first, they call him a runt. And they're making fun of the fact that he's little. And I'm sure that he's probably as young as they are. Then they want to know if he's a Jew. He, of course, doesn't know what he is. And then they make fun of him for that. And they call him smelly, they call him small, they call him a cuckoo, and they call him a small, smelly, stupid Jew. So these are very hateful words. These are very harmful words. A boy who is called the Unlaugher kicked the ground straw at a boy who hadn't spoken. The boy had only one arm. That's a Jew, he pointed to himself. This is a Jew, he pointed to the others. That's a Jew, that's a Jew, that's a Jew. He pointed to the horse. That's a Jew. He fell to his knees and scrabbled in the straw near the horse flap. He found something. He held it up to me. It was a small brown insect. This is a Jew. Look, look. He startled me. A Jew is an animal. A Jew is a bug. A Jew is less than a bug. So these are probably words that he heard from Nazis, and he's repeating it. So all of these kids are victims, but they're acting like perpetrators. On page 8 and 9, one of the boys says, well, he's a gypsy. And he says, look at his eyes, look at his hair, look at his dark skin. And then tells him, we don't need gypsies. We don't like gypsies. They're dirt. And, this is particularly disturbing because all of these kids, the Jews and the gypsies, were all enemies of Hitler. Finally, in chapter 4, in the beginning of chapter 4, Yuri takes Stop Thief. He takes him away, and he offers him a kind of humanity and brotherhood and love out of his altruism, out of his nurturing nature. And this is really important because I think Yuri here appears as a great being. I mean, we don't know what happens to Yuri as the story unfolds, but we know right now at this moment, he is very nurturing, very loving, and very altruistic. And so he promised him a mattress. He promised him comforts. And so that's the first thing that he does. He returned dragging a mattress. And where did he get this mattress from? He probably took it out of a home that had been abandoned. We really don't know. And then he takes him into this other place, and he gives him a bath. He says to him, did you ever have a bath? I stared at him. Didn't think so. Then he dressed me in a clean shirt and 2 big pants. People gave us looks as we climbed out of the rubble and onto the sidewalk. By the time we were halfway home, I was feeling terrific. I felt new. I felt the air, the sun on my skin. Yuri brought his nose to my neck and sniffed. He nodded. So in this scene, Yuri is giving him a sense of dignity, a sense of humanity, a sense of, what it means to be, alive and well. And in giving him a bath and giving him new clothes, he's giving him the beginning, of a new identity. He's washing away the hurt, the pain, the filth, the debris from a former life. All of these kids, the smugglers, Yuri, Stop Thief, they're all searching for a lost identity. At the same time, they're trying to redefine themselves and find a new identity. Both of these things are going on at the same time. And in trying to build his new identity, it seems pretty clear that Yuri is expressing himself as a leader, as someone who cares, as someone who is nurturing. And he's definitely taking care of Stop Thief. Maybe Stop Thief reminds him of his younger brother or a friend that he lost. And there's clearly an art to finding something beautiful in the midst of something that seems so horrible and so dark and so hopeless and so scary. So let's move on. On page 11 and 12, Yuri brings him into this barber shop. And this barber shop offers us another important lesson here. We don't really know what happened to the barber. It seems like the barber was in the middle of preparing to cut somebody's hair. The bottles of hair tonic are lined up. The scissors are there. The scissors there. The combs. All of the tools of his craft are all ready. We don't know what happened to him. It seems very strange. And unfortunately, I think that the Gestapo, if he was a Jewish man, the Gestapo just kind of burst into his shop and took him away. Maybe they shot him. Maybe they put him on a truck and took him to a concentration camp. But Yuri combs his hair and cuts his hair. And Stop Thief says, "Soon my hair was like fur." He pointed to the bottles. I did not understand why I should be offered a drink after having my hair cut, but I didn't argue. I had learned never to turn down food. So let's move on. On page 13, the boys are out smuggling. They're walking along the sidewalk. And Yuri says, he sees the boys smuggling, and he says, the bottom of 13, "Stupid, stupid. They take everything just to take it." He looked at me as a streetcar clanged above us. "Take only what you need. You hear?" He pinched my nose until my eyes watered. I howled, "Yes, yes, I hear." This is very important because this is yet another quality of character of a great being. Here, in this very dire situation, Yuri is attempting to teach him that yes, stealing is wrong. Stealing is not the right thing to do. But in this very difficult situation, to steal mindfully, to take only what you need, take only what sustains life. And then finally, on page 14 and 15 at the end of the chapter, the boys go out into the streets that were empty. And he says, a strange music filled the air, the sirens wail, and the thumping of exploding shells. So they're walking along the streets amid, shelling and amid the bombardment. I pulled myself up to the streetcar, opened the window that clamped Yuri's fingers. He fell to the ground and in a moment appeared finally at the door. So they find this abandoned streetcar. A streetcar is kind of like a bus that is run on electric tracks. So there's this abandoned streetcar. And for a moment, these two boys grab at the opportunity to reclaim their childhood. What a ride. Yuri turned the steering stick this way and that. He learned how to make it go faster, then faster, and the streetcar screamed along with us through the deserted city. Smoke rose beyond the rooftops as if giants were puffing cigars. He showed me where to pull the clanger, and I pulled, and the clanging joined the music of the bombardment. I mean, really clearly is a very powerful message here that in the midst of the bombing, in the midst of this horrible situation, they're laughing and rejoicing in a moment of their childhood. At last we came to a loop where the streetcar was meant to turn around, but Yuri did not slow down, and the streetcar leaped from the tracks, and it was like riding a house into other houses. We smashed into a restaurant, plowed through a field of red tablecloths into the kitchen with an ear-ripping clatter. And still, there were no people and no one to yell, "Stop, stop!" Sauerkraut splattered across the windshield as we came to a halt against the ovens. By now, the streetcar was on its side, and we were hanging from our places. Yuri was howling like a wolf, and even as the oven chimneys toppled like trees, I laughed and I pulled the clanger rope. So this is an affirmation of life in the midst of death. This is an affirmation of light in the midst of darkness. So I'm going to leave you now and say that I hope you have a nice day and be well, stay strong, and try to be happy and try to keep your mind in a place of light. And I'll see you soon.